This book is a critique of an idea. So what are you trying to say about the national fixation with home ownership?
What I'm trying to say is that, the American dream was and maybe never will be again the American dream for a reason, and that is that it has enabled generations of working and middle-class Americans to achieve some stability in life through housing that they own, that through the ability to generate wealth through that. And as that dream got entrenched following World War II through the support of government programs like the Federal Housing Administration, it became more and more of a politically kind of unshakable monolith. And, that really took on additional force in the 80s and 90s as we now had a newly deregulated banking industry. You'll remember the S&L crisis. Well, that Reagan set of reforms to the banking industry also created this new mortgage-backed securities market. So suddenly what we had then was a lot of money looking for new homeowners. And because homeownership was such a political sacred cow, we also had additional efforts by the government to make everyone possible into a homeowner, both to help them achieve the American dream and to keep the economy raging.
That's a great phrase, money looking for homeowners. And one case in point, perhaps, is Jorge Sotelo, a carpenter in Arizona, who was a poster child for the Bush-era homeownership drive. Here from the archives is President Bush speaking at an event on promoting homeownership in Arizona in 2004.
Jorge, he's sitting here, he's got a family to raise, gets a little extra help, making more money, got him a second home, upgrading, family's better off. What we want is this dream to be extended to every neighborhood in America. We want people owning their own home.
So, Alyssa Katz, what happened to Jorge Sotelo?
Jorge Sotelo. Well, I'm happy to report that Jorge and his family are currently still in their home. They have not gone into foreclosure yet. But after that speech, at the time, Jorge had bought his home. Well, technically, his uncle had bought his home. That's another story, with the help of the Federal Housing Administration program. But he went ahead 2 years later and refinanced with a subprime loan for a very high amount, over $200,000, and with an adjustable rate. And his family's been hit really hard. He works in construction. Payments are too high. So last I talked to him, he was working on getting a loan modification. But his town, Avondale, Arizona, has among the highest foreclosure rates in the country, and I'm still not sure if the Sotelos are going to make it.
That's really sad. And nobody ever follows up on those poster children, right, who are trotted out at presidential addresses. So I'm glad you did. And there's been no shortage of finger-pointing in the past year over whose fault this is. I don't know if you heard the Planet Money team 1 hour special on This American Life the other day, trying to unpack all the layers of fault. The Office of Thrift Supervision at the federal level, which was kind of one-stop shopping for banks that wanted minimal regulation. But you trace the germ of the crisis further back than any other analysis I've seen, back to the 1920s.
That's right. Well, in a small way, what happened in the 1920s is there was, in fact, a market in mortgage-backed securities then, too, and it also imploded. And that funded apartment buildings. You see a lot of them along Ocean Avenue in Brooklyn. Chicago had some as well. And, that was, in fact, why mortgage-backed securities were effectively not legal to trade for private bankers from about 1934 to 1983. And that's when the particularly Salomon Brothers, among other investment banks, and then the Reagan administration sat down to figure out, well, how can they create a private market in mortgage securities to help funnel more money into housing? And history then proceeded to repeat itself.